Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the EntraPass 8.50 Sales Overview webinar, where we launched 8.50 about 3-4 weeks ago and has been used by a lot of customers already. And obviously, the more we're pushing it, the more people are using it and is being pushed out to a bunch of customers. So far, people like it, and we're pretty excited to talk about what's available in 8.50. There are some cool stuff that were added, some really big stuff. I think that we want to listen to you guys and added what you guys want in the software. Some heavy optimization that will make a lot of customers happy. So Weekend is used pretty much at 90% of the industry. So while it's been around for 30, 40 years or more, Weekend is everywhere. So you attach a reader, you attach it to a KT controller, to another less better access controller, or anything you want really, right? Everything is clear communication and everything is a one-way communication from the card all the way back to the reader to the controller. So everything goes back. The controller doesn't really have any control over anything, right? Now, a few years ago, we launched the IO Smart series, which are RS-45 encrypted readers that give you an end-to-end encryption, and it communicates over RS-45. But today, with the KT-400, we're actually pleased to announce that the KT-400 Rev 1 now officially has OSDP on the controller. So you can take any existing KT-400 that has considered a Rev 1 that has no heatsink, the more newer controllers for the past 7-8 years, and you can actually upgrade the firmware and start using OSDP natively on the controllers. Now, if you have no idea what OSDP is an encrypted communication for the readers, and it's a communication between the controller and the reader. It is bidirectional and gives you benefits of verification, communication, and a bunch of things. But mostly is that the data is actually encrypted from the reader to the controller. So if you guys are excited, but to me, OSDP is a very big thing. It opens a lot of opportunities for very secure reader communication with other readers out there. How does it work? We do support the latest and greatest in OSDP technology. So the latest firmware out there for OSDP is OSDP 2.2. That's the newest one, natively supported on the KT-400 directly. We do offer the encrypted method of communication for higher security. So depending on the reader you have out there, if you want encrypted or non-encrypted, we support them both, right? So you can have open source OSDP or more secure OSDP based on the OSDP model you choose of the reader itself. We went and supported all of them to make sure we get the best and most secure also. You can easily pair a reader because it is an RS-45 technology, data being passed. We have to address the reader to the actual controller, so we know which reader is tied to which door. Because it's a KT-400, you can have 4 doors. So you have to address them via addresses. In the OSDP world, an address 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on is attached to a specific door to say which address you're in. And you could also change the speed of the baud rate and make it faster or slower depending on the reader. So we want to make sure it's as flexible and as easy to work with than every other reader out there. With the KT-400, it does communicate on the second COM port 2, right, of the RS-45. Benefit of this is it's already built into the KT-400. If you have an existing KT-400, you simply do a software upgrade or firmware upgrade to the KT-400 specifically, and it will give you OSDP support. It obviously requires EntraPass 8.50 to have the interface, but the controller itself can be firmware upgraded. The KT-400 COM2 can support two different protocols, but one at a time. You can use the CANTEC protocol, which is the IO Smart encrypted reader, the protocol we're used to already, right? So that's the IO Smart. Or you can actually use 4 OSDP readers. So if you want to use OSDP, you cannot use the IO Smart readers at the same time. It's one or the other. But again, why would you want to use both? It's different technologies for different purposes, but we use the same terminals. Now, depending on the reader you have, you can go up to 4 lines of 500 feet each. So, for example, if you have HID, depending on the reader and the consumption, you can go up to 500 feet from the actual controller all the way to the door. Now, it's per line, right? It's per door realistically. Now, if you want to do 3 readers or 2 readers or 4 readers on one line, you could. It is RS-45 addressable, so there's an address, as I was saying. The only difference is you're going to get a shorter read range if you go with it was one cable going from one to the door and having X amount of readers. But you can do up to 4 lines, 500 feet each if you ever wanted to. The only thing to be careful of is that the KT mod IO16 is compatible only when you're using the IO Smart encrypted RS-45 communications. If you're using OSDP, you would have to use the KT mod Relay 8 module or the Input 16 module. Those are SPI modules, whereas the RS-45 modules is only available when not used as OSDP. Smaller little thing, but it's not the end of the world. We do have modules that are compatible for the right stuff. I'm actually very excited, guys, about this because this opens up a lot new readers and it gives us some more features that we don't have available with weekend readers, right? If you're using standard weekend readers, all you're doing is LED buzzer control and you're done. What can we do with the KT-400 OSDP integration? Obviously, we have the secure connection. Obviously, we have the control of the reader. But now we can configure the reader, all this through the EntraPass Workstation. So we can address the reader settings from the CANTEC Workstation, right? Which address does it have? Which door is it tied to? All from the CANTEC Workstation. We can also manage the LED and buzzer management settings from a reader template. People actually like this so much with the IO Smart, we actually added it for OSDP. Now, if the reader supports it and the reader has an LED color that can be changed using the OSDP protocol, we can actually change the color. We can make the reader blue. We can make it yellow, depending on the color you have. That's very practical. So you can change the idle depending on the architecture of the building you want. Or you can even turn off the buzzer on card press, on key press, and so on. Again, based on the reader. How many of you guys have went out there and muffled an HID's speaker because you're putting this in a library or in a school, and every time somebody swipes the card, beep, right? Now with the OSDP, we can just turn off the buzzer. It still works on door forced open. It will still buzz on door forced open, but we can turn it off on a card press. So you just tap, door goes green, and you move in, right? So you have control of the reader LED and buzzer. Also, you get the tamper. There's new events in EntraPass. You get the tamper event in EntraPass. You get the communication alerts. Communication restored, communication failed. All that is available in the actual EntraPass system. And when you get a tamper event, when you get an access granted, denied, What can we do with all these events, including tamper and COM failure? We can do pop-ups, emails, video triggers. We can do anything that a regular Cantic event could do. We can now do with these events also. So if you have a camera nearby, you're recording on door first open, on door open too long, right? Standard events. Now you can add tamper. Why did the guy pull the reader off the wall? Is it the service tech, or is some guy with a crowbar ripping off the reader off the wall? Are you guys excited? I am. Say yes if you are. All right. So before we say which ones do you offer, which readers do you guys have? Well, it's very simple. We've tested OSDP, right? So we've went out there and tested a few readers that we offer. It doesn't mean other readers don't work, because OSDP is generally OSDP, so it's a standard out there. And we've taken multiple manufacturers out there that we've tested that we know works. The entire HID signal line of OSDP has been tested. We also tested the RP40s and then RP10s and so on that support OSDP, but primarily now everybody's going HID signal. So with HID signal, you can go, depending on the reader you have, you can go over Wiegand or OSDP. It's field selectable. So when you buy it from Cantech, it will be Wiegand specific. And then using the Reader mobile app from HID, they have an app that you log in and you can control your readers in the field, obviously via Bluetooth. So you're like about 10 feet from the reader. You can go and configure the reader mobile, the reader itself, changing the baud rate, right? Changing the reader device ID. The reader device ID is very important. Because the KT-400 does 4 doors, each reader needs to have its own address from 0 to 3, right? 0, 1, 2, 3. 0 is door 1, 1 is door 2, and so on and so forth. So when you buy a reader, they're all at 0 address. You have to change them accordingly. And the Reader mobile app lets you change other settings like the keypad burst. And again, if you want to put Wiegand or OSDP. Now, the Reader is ready to work. If you have one door, if you have a keypad, it's ready for Wiegand. Bang, you're done. If you want OSDP, you just change your OSDP settings. All that's configurable through the Reader Manager app itself. All configurable through Cantic, and you can do 4 lines of 500 feet if ever needed. We've also tested another device called StoneLock. You may have heard of them. It's a facial recognition reader, will detect your face and converts your face into a number. And this number is then, it's an algorithm basically. When it matches you, it will send out a card number over Wiegand or OSDP down to the Cantic controller. Now, we have a heavy integration with Cantic. It pretty much, you don't have to change anything that the user does or behavior for programming a new card holder or a new person. It's all managed through EntraPass. And the reader enrollment gets started from the user himself. So I program a new card holder in EntraPass. I assign him a card number. He enrolls his face through the StoneLock reader, right? And then the StoneLock reader, when he gets a valid person, a valid face, it will send down the card number like any other reader. It will send it down via Wiegand or OSDP. If you want to use OSDP with the Cantic controllers, you can definitely do that. It works the same way as HID, but the difference is you can do that from the comfort of the software. StoneLock has a StoneLock Go software, which manages the biometrics locally, right, and all the backend stuff, and that can enable the address reader. You can say, for example, I want this reader to be address 1, I want encrypted, I want it non-encrypted, I want it to be address 2, and so on. So you can control what the reader has all from the StoneLock Go software. It does require the reader expansion module, so the little module board in the back that will talk back to the KT controller or over OSDP, but it gives you some extra benefits. Now we have the ability of having not only standard HID readers with keypads or knots, but we could also use StoneLock OSDP for facial recognition, and even attach a reader to it on the side if you want, and have that communicate OSDP. So you do card and then face if ever needed. Are you guys excited about this? I think it opens up a whole new world of integrations with third-party readers out there that use OSDP. So again, those are the two readers that we support for OSDP. It doesn't mean other readers don't work. This is the ones we've tested, obviously, with the KT-400. It does require the latest firmware for the KT-400 that comes with EntraPass 8.50, which is firmware 3.x. All right. Again, guys, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them in the question portion, and we'll definitely answer them as we go along. Don't be shy. All right, so keeping up with times, Microsoft launched a new Windows device, a new Windows software called Windows 11. So we do support Windows 11 natively with EntraPass. Officially, it's Windows 11 Pro because Pro does come with the web server required to host a web server. If you have Windows 11 Home, you can use the web client, but you can't really host EntraPass because it's lacking the web services. So Windows 11 Pro supported with EntraPass 8.50. Again, we're keeping up with the times and getting better at adding what Microsoft is adding, right? Now, in 8.40, we launched a very popular device called the KT2. In 8.50, we are improving further our KT2 functionalities. We're adding more stuff to it, kind of a phase 2 to the KT2, right? So when we launched the KT2, you had the ability of doing some kind of integrations. So now with 8.50, we're offering all the integrations that we're accustomed to with the KT-400s and the KT-1s, right? We want to make the KT2 as powerful as all our controllers. So you guys pick which controller is most important for you based on the door count, plug it in, I'll say, oh, it does more or less. They're equally as powerful one for another, right? So what did we do? We now have the ability to have the DSC Power Series over RS-232 and the Power Series Neo over RS-232, right? So if you want, you can have Power Series Neo or Power Series itself over RS-232 directly into the RS-232 port of the KT-2. We've also continued to support Power Series Pro over wired IP, not just RS-232. We also do IP. We are also pleased to announce that we do support the ability to have Aperio wireless locks. So now not only do we have wired doors on our KT2, so standard wired doors, but we also have wireless doors using the Aperio integration. So 8 wireless locks. So if you calculate this properly, all our KT controllers now support 8 wireless locks and the respective door count locally on them. So if a KT4 is a 4-door controller with 8 wireless locks. The KT2 is 8 wireless locks and 2 wired doors. Now, one thing that the KT2 has an advantage over everybody is the Wi-Fi. You're like, okay. As you guys are aware, the KT2 has a built-in Wi-Fi antenna. You can use that to program the KT2 initially, like the KT Finder style. You connect to it through the Wi-Fi, and you tell it where EntraPass is, but it also gives the ability to communicate Wi-Fi on the customer's Wi-Fi network, like he does with wired Ethernet. Same thing, but now we are wireless Wi-Fi, right? So the benefit of this now with Aperio is you can go Wi-Fi to near the door, right? So standard Wi-Fi like your iPhone, Android, near the door, and then have the hub attached to it, and then go Aperio directly. So basically, you're even eliminating that cable run, because we all know we need a little hub to control the Aperio locks, right? Now, if you have that Aperio lock, great. You still got to put a hub. By having the Wi-Fi, you even go closer to the door, so your deployment cost goes down severely, right? So that's one of the benefits of using the Wi-Fi with the Aperio locks. Giving more power to the KT2, the KT2 now does support 2 doors, 4 readers. So if you're using a 2-door controller, it is now a fully 2-door controller when using IO Smart or IO Prox readers, right? If you're using IO Smart encrypted RS-45 readers with IO Smart cards, you can now use 4 readers to do 2 full doors. You can have an entry and you can have an exit on the RS-45, and you can do 2 full doors. Like the KT-400, which gives you the ability of having 4 doors, 8 readers, the KT2 gives you 2 doors, 4 readers. Same thing, very powerful over RS-45. So you'll pull one cable for your door all the way to your door and attach 2 readers using IO Smart RS-45, fully encrypted, and the readers communicate over serial number. So you type in the serial number in EntraPass for that reader, and that becomes your entry or your exit door. All right. Now, the benefit of that is if you have this, you get more reader ports effectively for the same amount of doors, but you have to use the IO Smart or IO Prox cards and readers. I like this feature a lot, especially when you want to do anti-pass back and tracking people, but you only have 2 doors, like a small garage, right? How many garages have 23 entrances? You have 1, sometimes you have 2. So this becomes very practical for that.
Hey,
So
Tom, we have a couple of questions.
yeah, we'll get to them. I saw them. We'll get to them
Okay.
as we go along. Thank you, Mitch. So I read them, and if it's there, I go on. If it's too late, I see them afterwards. So don't worry, guys. We will answer your questions as we go along. I saw about the Wi-Fi and the 4 readers and so on. So yeah, thanks, Mitch. Give you a little breather at the same time. So this gives us a huge improvement on the KT2, gentlemen and ladies. Gives us again all the functionalities you guys are used to. You simply have to do a firmware upgrade, and you can definitely take advantage of these. Obviously, you'll need 8.50 to take advantage of the exit reader itself. KT-NCC. Oh, this is one of my favorite features that we've done in a long time on the KT-NCC. So the KT-NCC is basically a cornerstone hardware that is deployed when using EntraPass Global Edition. Now, if you guys are corporate dealers, stay on. We still have some corporate features for you guys, but this was a pretty big feature we want to put at the end and so on, right? So we have some other features for you guys for corporate, but if you're using Global Edition, we've done some changes to the core functionality of the KT-NCC to really boost its performance. If it can lead for larger customers that have many thousands of cards, right? It can lead to 87% better performance on reloads of the KT-NCC and all of the controllers under it. So not only do we get 80% or 87% better reload times on the KT-NCC, but we also get 87% or more better reload times on the controllers. Now, that number is deflated a bit. The real number when we did test was over the 95% performance increase, depending on for a few factors. But guys, nobody's gonna believe me if I say 95% or 99% improvement, right? So there's a huge improvement in the read performance of the KT-NCC, of the reload itself. So we're gonna dramatically reduce the read range, the reload times of all the controllers on site. Now, how does it work? I'll tell you in a few minutes. We've tested this feature on a live customer environment for about 5 months now, and it's flawless all the time. It works for 5 months. There's no problems, right? And they have over 70,000 cards in their database. So to give an example, the reload times from the KT-NCC and the controller takes approximately less than 5 minutes, or around 5 minutes, for NCC and controllers when servers have over 60,000 cards. That's a huge decrease in reload time, huge decrease in reload times with NCCs. Now, how do we do it? Very simple. How do we save the time on reloads? The KT-NCC from now on only receives valid cards that belong to it. If a card is valid and the card doesn't have access to that KT-NCC, for example, or its doors, so I don't have access to those doors, I will not be sending that card anymore to that KT-NCC. To give an example, the customer that has 70,000 cards, if I look at him over 100 KT-NCCs, which is what he has, the average, the biggest one, not the average, the biggest NCC is hitting 3,000 cards. So out of 70,000 cards, 3,000 cards were actually required to be sent to the KT-NCC. The smaller KT-NCCs in further regions was 300 cards. So the 69,700 cards or so that were over the top, that were needed. By removing this, now we can reload the KT-NCCs much, much, much faster. Also, we still send all the stolen and pending cards down to all the respective KT-NCCs. This will make it possible to trigger, sirens or releasing the hounds when somebody invalid attempts to get in. So if you're not valid or you don't belong there, you're not sent down to the KT-NCC. Huge reload times increase. And we also have a new event. If you don't belong in that building, it will generate a new event for you. So for all our bigger customers that are using Global Edition out there, with all the changes we did in 820 and 830 for the KT-NCC, plus this change, it makes a huge improvement on the KT-NCC reload times. All right. We've added some new languages, so if you want to brush up on your Czech or your Slovak or your Danish, Finnish, Swedish, and Norwegian, you can definitely put EntraPass now in any of those two languages. We still have the traditional English, French, Spanish, German, and so on. They're all there. We're just adding 6, 7 more languages in the platform. As we said before, Microsoft has been very active in changing stuff, and bad guys are getting better and better at being bad guys. So we have to get better and smarter and faster at being good guys, right? More secure, more safe, and so on. So in 2022, Microsoft announced that you're ending the support for older TLS email connectivity. So if you're using Office 365 or newer Exchange service from Microsoft, they're stopping support of an older encrypted platform, which is standard stuff. So 8.50 now allows you to support the newest and greatest TLS 1.2 encryption. So if you have an email server connecting to Office 365, you're going to get an error if you're trying to connect to it. If you have an older version, you simply upgrade to the newest version, and it's completely transparent to you guys. There's nothing for you to do. You just connect to it, and it will automatically start sending emails through the new platform, the new encryption. If you're using Gmail or private Gmail, Gmail is coming out in February, not February, I apologize, in May with this platform. So if you have any customers using private label, Gmail or Google or Microsoft, definitely upgrade them to the 850 who take advantage of the higher secure features. And like with everything, like I said, the bad guys are getting smarter and better. We have to get smarter and better. In 8.40, we launched a new hardened communication protocol for our controllers, where the KT-1 and the KT-2 at the latest firmware were able to communicate via the hardened communication protocol. Now, we are adding to this list KT-400 with the new firmware. So if you have version 3X for the firmware, so version 3.0.0 for the KT-400, you'll be able to communicate over the hardened communication protocol. Makes it basically more secure. Now, if you want, and you have older firmware and older controllers like an IP link, a KTES, and so on, basically you can enable the standard legacy protocol, which is the protocol we've been using for many, many years, and the controller will communicate with that protocol for that one. If your KT-400 or KT-1 or KT-2 are in the latest firmware, they will talk with the new hardened protocol. Completely transparent to you. You simply have to enable it. Now, if you forgot or made a mistake, don't worry about it. You can always go and activate it or adjust it accordingly yourself under options and system parameters. You can change the protocol to enable legacy communications or only use the new hardened communication protocol. So if you have KT-400s running version 209 or lower, or KT-1s with that version or lower, or any KTS or IP link, you simply enable the protocol. It's still very secure, still 128-bit, but the new one's better. Like Google does with their apps, right? You want the latest and greatest? Here's how we do it. You want the standard? This is how we do it. And we offer you to turn off the standard or not. Same behavior here. We turn off standard if you have the latest and greatest of everything. So I hope you guys enjoyed the presentation. The 8.50 is available for you guys to download and take advantage of the OSDP with the KT-400, or expand your flexibility with the KT2 Aperio locks, DSC, and even entry and exit reader on it, right? And obviously the KT-NCC, which gives more flexibility for our larger customers. Now, if you have any questions, ladies and gentlemen, please ask them in the question portion, and we'll go through them together if you want.